Okay, good evening and welcome to the January 20th, 2022 meeting of the Grafton, Mass. Disability Commission. I'm Roger Trahan, Chair of the Commission, and I call this meeting to order. It is 6:34 p.m. As a preliminary matter, please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Christy Proctor.
Aye.
Catherine Dorr.
Aye.
Laura Deneen.
Laura Deneen, aye.
Rob Paulsonelli.
Aye.
All right, Trahan, aye, obviously. And Mr. Berger is not with us tonight due to another meeting conflict, and we're waiting for Daryl. And there aren't any anticipated speakers on the agenda other than the members. This open meeting of Grafton's Disability Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, and subsequent extension of June 16, 2021, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted to the town's website at www.grafton-ma.gov, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment if there is any. For this meeting, the Grafton Disability Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom, as reflected on our agenda, which is posted on our commission's webpage on the town website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Meeting materials. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Meeting business ground rules, even though we're kind of lax on them. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda, but before doing so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage with other members, please do so through the chair taking care to identify yourself. And for items with public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. The chair will first read public comments / questions received in advance of the meeting, followed by real-time board and or applicant responses. For the record, there are none in advance. Public comments during the meeting will be conducted through the chat feature in Zoom. The chair will read real-time comments / questions typed by computer participants in the chat feature, followed by real-time board / applicant responses. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. You know, I should have like this pre-recorded video and just kind of superimpose it on my face or something like that. First item on the agenda, announcements. And I kind of took some liberty. You know, at any time you can throw things my way and I'll ask at the end of the announcements I've listed in advance. Just throw them out there if you have any other announcements. I had placed the CPAC's Special Ed Parent Advisory Committee. The 2021 highlights and 2022 focus is a 4-page PowerPoint. And Heather Nadeau and Leora Brahm, the co-chairs, back on, it was last week on the 11th, Tuesday, the 11th of January. They presented for about 30 minutes to the school committee. So I had put this in our meeting packet to say basically that they're doing great work and that the recording may be found on the town website, grafton-ma.gov. Under departments, if you go to Grafton Community Television, it's under the educational channel of the 3 channels, and then you can look it up under that meeting. And so they did a 30-minute rundown of 21 and 2022 focus. So I wanted to call that to everyone's attention and invite people to look at that if you haven't already. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I think that they've done a great job. Really, this year has been a rebuild year. So I'm really proud of the chairs and all the work that they're doing, and thank them for all the work.
They've made great strides.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
could either of you remind me, not Heather's name, but the other chair's name, please?
Leora Bram, Liora, Bram, Bram. And if I could step back a second,
Thank you.
I'm getting a text from Dal. She doesn't have the link, but I can.
Tell her it's the same as the December link. Tell her to Google, or excuse me, look in her search box for Zoom meeting reminder. That's how I found it. Did anybody else not get the reminder yesterday that we normally get? Yeah, we didn't get it this month, Roger.
I got it.
Sorry, I did get one.
I got mine.
Really?
Yeah,
No, I'm
weird.
only kidding.
Mine could
Yeah,
have gone in trash.
I mean, I
I'm not
looked.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get one this time, so.
Who knows
okay.
where things get lost in the ether of the internet, you know?
Yeah. I searched. I really had my fingers crossed that the December link would work. So tip for another time.
838-4310-0939 and passcode 200398. I'm just texting her. Okay. And so Christy, are you all set with the spelling of Heather Nadeau and Leora Brown's names? And did you have any other comments? Okay, the other, oh, hello, Daryl. Can you hear us, Daryl?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Took me
Daryl-
forever to find that Zoom link.
So Daryl is on board at 6:42. And I was simply calling attention to the CPAC presentation last week to school committee that's on the GCTV website. They've done great work. So the second item under announcements, and I had placed this, it may have been both on my own Facebook wall and All Things Grafton. It was about suicide prevention and mental health. And I put a link from sprc.org, which is Suicide Prevention Resource Center. I think what really caught my eye was that among the 6 WPI deaths at Worcester Polytech, of the 6 deaths in the last 6 months of students, 3 were by suicide. And so it's a real wake-up call. We're going through some tough times. Youth, young adults go through a lot. And I thought this was a really good link for its parents, students, teachers, just the general public. There's a lot of really good resources. And this Suicide Prevention Resource Center also has a suicide prevention lifeline. I like how they use the term lifeline instead of hotline. And it's 1-800-273-TALK, which is 8255. And I think it's probably a good idea that we kind of revisit this issue periodically. A lot of people have a lot going on, even if we don't know about it. So does anyone have any comments on that announcement? Okay, and then moving on, I had caught a really nice article in the Grafton News on Grafton High student Jack Savage, and it was titled "Despite his disabilities, Grafton's Jack Savage makes an impact." And so I thought it was a really good article, and I would recommend you all reading it. It was one about, participation in a meaningful way, being part of many communities, inclusion and acceptance. So I would recommend, visiting that if you're able to online. I'm not sure if you get free content for on the Grafton News website, or whether that may have been on one of the Facebook pages, but if you can access it, I'd recommend reading that. So a really good article. Okay. So I'll just open up the floor to any other announcements anyone may have that are accessibility related that I may not be aware of. Yes, Catherine.
I just wanted to remind everyone, the same announcement I made last year. The Disability Day of Mourning is coming up on March 1st.
Okay.
And the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network has information on how you can either volunteer to host a vigil on that evening, or coming up in the next few weeks, once they have hosts, how to join in on a vigil, either in person or virtually.
Okay.
And that is in memory of, just in general, people with disabilities who have been victims of familicides. So.
Okay. Thank you, Catherine. Are you aware of any local or regional vigils that are going on?
I don't think there are any planned yet. They're still looking for hosts.
Okay.
But I know that I think Milford had one last year, virtually and in person, and I think, I don't know, there were a few in the area, so there will
maybe
likely
it may
be
not
at
make a difference if it's virtual. It could be anywhere, and you could.
Yeah,
tune in.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, there
Okay.
were a few in the area, and if you just keep checking their website, there will be information on.
And
people who are
what is that
hosting.
website, Catherine?
The Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. I think it's a.
Well, there's also a National Day of Mourning for COVID-19 victims on the same day.
Oh,
Oh,
there is. Interesting.
Okay. Let's throw that out there too.
So,
Yeah.
so let me just check what we're doing
Well,
here. Because
they
I
could
wanted
both
to
go
check
together
the-
at the same time, actually.
Yeah.
Well, there's also the Day of Mourning. It's equal access with the U's and equal capitalized. Is that the one?
Let's see.
I don't think so. I think the one you are talking about is the National Disability Day of Mourning, if people with disability have been killed by their family members.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have to tell you, with COVID, the neglect and the lack of care, I mean, I'm not
Unfortunately, yeah.
surprised it's kind of happening on the same day.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, this is autisticadvocacy.org is the ASEN's website. And I don't know, maybe there will be combined ones, because there is definitely an intersection. And
Yeah.
the disability community has been disproportionately affected by COVID. So
Maybe Catherine, if you find more detailed information on like Zoom links or something, you could.
yeah, next month there will be, because
Oh,
it's
yeah,
on
that's
March
right,
1st.
because-
So
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll have our February meeting before that.
yeah, I'm just putting a heads up for if anyone is interested in hosting. So
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other announcements anyone wants to put forth? Okay.
I was just going to say the Paralympics are coming up next month in
Oh,
Beijing, China. And we'll see if they happen. But, right now, it would be great to see them come or get recognition. There was a lot of recognition of the Summer Olympic para athletes. I'd love to see that happen for the event in February.
Awesome. I'll be looking into that and being mindful to catch as much coverage as possible. Any other announcements? Okay, moving forward, external correspondence, I did not get any. Since the municipal center has been closed, I've been making periodic calls to the town clerk's office to check our Disability Commission mailbox. Not everything comes to me by email. A lot of things, we're on a lot of mailing lists, and so nothing has come in that I'm aware of as of, I think I checked maybe in the past week. All right, so next item on the agenda, meeting minutes for December 16th. Catherine, do I have a motion to accept the draft meeting minutes of December 16th, 2021?
So moved.
All right, do I have a second?
I actually have one question on them,
Oh.
on the minutes, if I could. Chrissy, just for who was there, just add me to that list, and then I'm
Well,
good.
what we can do is we'll discuss it after there's been a motion in a second.
Oh, okay,
It
sorry,
becomes part of the discussion.
sorry.
And so, no, that's okay. So Laura, do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Okay, all right, motion made by Catherine and seconded by Laura to accept the.
You know, Laura, this must be like the third time. I apologize. I don't know if I have an allergy to typing your name or what, but let me pull up the minutes right now and fix them and share my screen so you can see what I'm working on.
No, it
It's
is
just loading.
A-okay, no
I
problem.
know, but it's like, it's not like I hate to say this, but it's not like you're someone I don't like and I'm passively aggressively. Okay.
I'm glad to
everybody that's
hear
on
that.
tape,
The
could've done
anti-Laura
that to someone
Facebook
else
group.
tonight, but I didn't.
Mm.
No, anyways, hold on. It's loading and here it comes. Okay. So I'm in SharePoint right now, so everything takes a little longer. So let's see if I can get screen 2 up. Sorry. When I'm out of the VPN, my screen is very slow. Everything runs slower. Here we go. Okay, so if we go down to you, Laura.
You acknowledge her on all the votes. It's just a matter of who's present.
Yes,
And then Catherine's name has an E at the end.
Sorry, this is really the life I lead working from home.
So the closed captioning said, instead of who's present, who's president. So,
Oh yeah, there it is.
okay. So Laura, do you have any recommended edits? Other than that?
no, that was it for me, thank you.
Okay. Does anyone, I had just one small item. Usually I start droning on, but no, I only had one item, but I'll throw it out there if anyone else has any recommended changes. All right, then I will throw out at you on page 3 under closed captioning. It's at the very top of the page. Or is it? Yeah.
Nope, I got it.
Okay, yeah, closed captioning. All right, so meetings are now closed caption. Roger, that sentence would be, I had done a Zoom test with Bob Dutoma and also thanked Olivia Dauphinais, Dauphinais.
Okay.
And Brooke Paget for Zoom assistance, and Brooke has no E at the end, and Paget is Padgett. Yeah, so if you could just put that, I had done a Zoom test with Bob DeToma before the word Roger, or whatever. Yeah, Roger conducted Zoom tests with Bob DeToma and thanked Olivia Dauphiné and Brooke Paget for Zoom assistance. So. And that's the only edit I have, so. So does anyone else have any comments? All right, then hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes with the changes as noted. Daryl. Where's Daryl?
Abstain.
Oh, that's right. And okay, so Daryl abstain. Christie,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes, Laura Denine, yes.
Rob,
Abstain.
and Roger, I declare the motion carried. 4 in favor, none opposed, and 2 abstentions. That's right? Yeah,
Yes, because it's
Okay.
6 total.
okay. All right. Moving on. Disability Commission report for 2021. My fingers couldn't stop typing. That's okay. So, okay, there you are. All right. I needed to promote you as a panelist, not just allow you to be seen. Okay, so Disability Commission report for 2021. As I had mentioned before we got booted, my fingers just couldn't stop typing. And so what I ended up doing is just trying to capture as much as possible. Its length is partly due to the fact that it's 16 font. And some people say that 18 font is the recommended, but last year we were in the town report as 16 font, and that seemed to be pretty readable. And what I ended up doing is, and I'll make note that this meeting isn't the hard deadline to accept this. So if you, and I sent this to you just 2 days in advance of the meeting. And so we could certainly discuss it, or we can agree to tackle it at February's meeting. If in reviewing it, you see that things could be shortened or things are missed or something like that. So I guess by a straw poll, how many people had a chance to read this monolithic document? Oh, okay. All right, so most of us. So what I was trying to do is a couple things, or a few things. Capture what we did, kind of started with last year's Word document. So certainly let the public know the extent, the nature, extent, and scope of the work we did in 2021. But also it serves as a sort of, if, let's say, for instance, there is a vacancy on the commission and someone wants to see, what do we do? All right. Rather than go through all the minutes, like if I were seeking a vacancy on a commission or committee or board, I would go right to the town report and maybe read the last 1 or 2 reports to kind of get a flavor of what the committee is all about. And so that's one of the things I had in mind in trying to capture a lot of these things. So any comments about its length, about the content, or anything like that?
I would just say we need to make sure our verb is consistent, past tense.
Okay, what verbs?
During, let's see, it's page 27 in the packet, but it's probably page 2 of the report. During its
Oh.
2021 meetings, the commission's focus and activities included.
Yeah, the
So-
the
yeah, so-
commission's focus, yeah, so included
So
is the
that's-
past tense.
Right, so that's past tense, but then your first verb on the first bullet is progressive.
Oh,
See how it's ongoing?
oh,
Then you
right,
go-
right. In other
And
words,
then
right,
you
right.
said created, and then
Right.
your verb is consisting of.
Oh, gotcha.
See what I
Yes.
mean? Like those, the first verb in this, in the bullet should be consistently either,
Okay.
No, it should just say
Progressive tense or-
reviewed and organized, organized.
Right.
Whatever.
Okay.
That's it. Just take out ongoing, put reviewed.
Right. All right.
I actually thought you did a good job, Roger.
Thank you.
This information is really, it does capture pretty much everything, and every different person has their own style in doing things. So I like the way you thank people. I probably wouldn't, but that's.
thank you for saying that, Daryl.
No, I mean, so
No.
I actually think it's fine. I
Okay.
think it's fine.
Okay, great.
I think it read well. It read
Yeah.
well. It encaptured everything that the committee's done. I found it an easy read, and it was well positioned. So
All right,
I think
thank you. I appreciate that. You never know how these things are going to be taken, and I think that one of the things I kind of, I don't know, quasi-conversational approach, as well as the idea of thanking people. I think that people will see how we collaborated with people, and that there are a lot of people that provided a lot of assistance and input to sort of create the final product collectively of what we did throughout the year. And so.
Yeah,
yep,
I agree,
so,
Roger.
Thank you.
Not everyone would mention that, people are much more black and white.
Yeah,
So I, like I said, I appreciated that.
all right, thank you. So, so the only past tense is, you're talking, Christie, as far as reviewed and organized Grafton's June 2019 municipal non-school ADA self-eval. Is that the only, I guess, syntax or grammatical?
No.
Oh, no, okay, please, no, point them out
I'll
because.
send it to you. I'll
Oh,
send it to
okay,
you. Yeah,
all right,
it's
so-
there's a few easy ones, but we don't,
okay,
Easy,
so we're
easy.
on board that I guess, by consensus, I guess we'll agree that any changes are grammatical and not substantive. Okay, all right, so Christie, if you could just send me those points, and then I will update my document, remove the draft from it, and then send it to Cindy Ide.
Okay, and then I'd like to take a picture of us right now on screen. I want us all to smile, and I want it submitted as part of the report. Don't you think that would really help
Well, what about
personalize?
what about Mr. Berger? He's not here.
I will,
You know what, I don't know if a picture would come out well on print.
no, it won't. But
It
I really think that one of the hard things about being remote is that you lose that sense of, you see our work, but you don't know who the faces are behind there.
Right. I'm
So
wondering
it's almost
if
too bad.
everyone's comfortable with this. I know that I've seen it in various venues where on a website or even nonprofits, who's the leadership or who's the membership, and people put, even if they don't put a full bio, they put a picture and a name. And maybe we can do that with our webpage and get creative in that respect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, Right. All right, then I will accept a motion to approve the Disability Commission report with the recommended grammatical changes.
I move we approve the 2022 Disability Commission report,
2021.
2021 Disability Commission report with the amended grammatical changes.
All right. Do I have a second?
A second.
All right. Motion made by Daryl, seconded by Rob. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, Daryl,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Laura,
Aye.
Rob,
I
Roger, I declare the motion carried 6-0. Okay, subcommittee, Disability Commission charge, Christie and Rob. Christie, I know you had emailed everyone the latest changes, what we had discussed at our last meeting, and so who wants to take the lead in this discussion?
I am still getting all your votes in, so I'm gonna let Rob do it.
is perfectly
I'm
fine.
still writing yes and doing the count. Sorry, I'm trying to
I'm
make sure
sorry.
I'm,
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's okay. I just have to get that last sentence in. Roger declared the motion carried. This is really easy. I just, my dog's barking. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, so I'm hoping everyone did some due diligence and remember our conversation from 2 months ago. It seems like an eternity ago since Christmas and New Year has taken place in the meantime, but
Sure.
I think that we really wanted to have a more robust discussion. And since last December was a little thin on attendance, we decided to postpone it. So I think that, you know, if our charge is to be changed, you know, we want it to be something that's timely, but not straying from our mission, and that, you know, we came up with those items and we really wanted to have some discussion about which sentences or which phrasing made the most sense. We
Right.
came up with 2 or 3 and Rob wrote them out beautifully. We did one amendment from the December meeting and now I can bring those back up again.
Okay.
So
What was the consensus? Revising or starting fresh? I don't recall.
can you allow me to share again,
Oh,
please,
yes.
Roger?
Okay,
I
yeah,
don't
hold
think
on.
we had a consensus yet.
Okay. All right,
We
hold
weren't
on
that
one
far
moment.
along.
Didn't, right? We didn't yet.
Wait a minute, hold on. Participants. All right, panelists. All right. Oh, so wait a minute, share screen. All panelists who can,
Oh, I can share there. I got it. Thanks.
okay,
Okay. So right now we have option 1, which is revising the current charge.
mhm,
And I'm going to make this bigger. Hold on. And then we had this starting fresh. And what we wanted to make sure we did have was the phrasing, including compliance with relevant state and federal laws.
okay.
Okay, so I
So
just wanted-
is what you're showing us in red, is that something different than what's in the meeting packet?
Nope, that's the meeting packet.
Okay, which? ensure
Meeting
cons-
packet, page 33.
Right. Oh, yeah, okay, relevance. Okay, so you're on option 2. Yep.
Let me make
Okay.
this just a little bit bigger because I know it's not fun to strain.
It was fine. I don't know if everyone else, yeah, Daryl.
I guess I'll just kick this off by being devil's advocate a little bit. So in the second where it's starting fresh. When you write ensure, how are you envisioning our commission to ensure?
I think that gives us a mission and a focus and a way to say we are going to work hard until it is done. I mean, we can't guarantee 100% accessibility, but we are going to work towards that goal. And you're
just be
right. there's no-
proactive about it.
Yeah, there's no, as we know, there's no police, there's no authority, there's nothing. But we really do want to work towards that.
One of the things that I didn't do in this meeting packet compared to either 1 or 2 meetings ago was to include the charge as it exists currently, and the Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, I think it's Section 8J or thereabouts, that describes the shall statements regarding disability commissions, or however they're named. And we had discussed previously that in whatever manner we felt would work for us to change things to better reflect our charge in the scope of what we did, that we could not ignore the state mandate, which we agreed wasn't the best language. Whoever put it together didn't, I guess it could have been a little bit better worded, but we're stuck with wording that we hate. It's just not, the entire document isn't trash, but it's that a lot of it is just worded in a way that if we were to see it in draft form, we would cut it to bits. So.
Correct. And then just as a reminder then, Roger, the numbers included in the bullet points are reflections back to those shall statements.
Okay.
So just sort of by way of quantifying that we've really checked all the boxes, I guess I'll say, for
Oh.
the shall statement from that.
Okay.
So they're not verbatim cut and copied. They're, I guess the ones that the ones that we did put on the, or cut up on, had them all over the floor. We sort of picked them up and dressed them up nicely for this
All right,
version. So
you're saying that so you carried over the state mandates into this document?
yeah, those requirements, right? We aligned, and that's again what those numbers are. So if you went to Mass, the 8 point whatever it was, yeah,
Chapter 40, yeah.
thank you. And if you looked, shall, and then it had number 1, and I'm not remembering the specific language off the top of my head, but that would align with what the third and it looks like last,
Okay.
like those 2 statements would reflect what's required in that part of the shall statement,
Okay. Okay.
etc.
All right. Awesome. So
What
in
chapter, Roger?
what was that?
What chapter?
I believe it's Chapter 40, Section 8J. If you could just, if you Googled MGL 48J, 40/8J. Yeah, I probably should have gone the extra and included that in the packet, like I did in the prior meeting, so we could sort of compare and contrast that.
Do you want me to go back and look at our old commission charge? Do you want me to look it up on the website real
Well,
quick?
okay, so there's a couple of things.
I got it.
On our face page, on our main page on the town website, one of the bars is our current charge. Way back when there was a previous charge back in 2009 that kind of got changed in 2019 when we were reconstituted from 0 membership to the 7 that were appointed. And I don't know who really vetted out that language, because it was like, for instance, I'm not sure of any other appointed committee by the select board that has to go through the town administrator. I don't understand why that is, or who put that wording in there. It just came out of the blue. That was not in the original 09 charge, as to reporting to an intermediary other than our appointing authority, you know? And so I've been a kind of strict stickler about direct contact with the town administrator, only because that's included in our charge. And so first and foremost, I think from a functional standpoint, I'm not understanding why we need to go through the town administrator if our appointing authority is the select board.
And
In
I
response-
don't know either, but we'll let you be the investigator on that, Roger, because if we don't need that, we need to take that out, because this could become burdensome at another point because it was left and not touched. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
this could, I don't want there to be an assumption that this is right just because it stayed in there for.
Right. Well, it's only been in there since August of 19 or thereabouts, or June, July, August. We first met as reconstituted on September 19 of 2019. So it was somewhere between June and August, that meeting, that the charge was updated. The date of the changes reflected on the town website. And we really haven't discussed looking at what it looked like in 09
Yeah,
versus what it looked like in 19. So Darryl,
Roger, I'm reading the charge. There is the only place, if we had a town manager, then we would be responsible to the town manager through the board, through whatever. We don't have a town manager, so we're the town administrator being responsible to the select board through the town administrator is made up. That is not in this charge.
no.
So
I have to stop the share just for a second because I want to take notes on that. I apologize. I'll go back up when we're ready to look at it
Right.
again, but I need to write this down.
Right. And I think that, I mean, we've had some turnover in the role, and now we have Mr. Brassard. But it's nice to have a day-to-day person.
yeah,
but-
it would be totally different. If we had a town
Yeah.
manager, he would be the one, we would be responsible to the town manager.
Right,
And subject to the approval of the selectmen. So he would appoint us subject to approval of the selectmen.
right.
But we do not have a town manager form of government. So we are technically responsible to the select board. And the select board probably at some point in time asked us to, which is appropriate for us to be in touch with the town administrator for sure, but we are responsible to the Board of Selectmen. So they probably asked us to go through the town administrator to get to them, but it doesn't even make sense because we have a representative from the Board of Selectmen
Right,
on our committee, and that person can relay information.
correct. And you're right. At first it was Matt Often, and, well, actually it wasn't. It was Donna Stockton, it was Matt Often, then now it's Bob Berger. So
Don't
it
forget, we
did-
had Doreen for a little bit too, didn't we? I mean, like, we've had everybody.
did.
yeah, actually Doreen was appointed and then wasn't able to make the first two meetings. So you're right, Doreen was
telling you.
on paper. She was on paper. So we've had a number of people, and actually I don't recall them ever having debated or vetted out the charge. It was, I don't know who put it together, but it was acknowledged that it was an update from the 09 charge, and
Yeah,
that
they
whole
just
idea.
made that up. Somebody
Yeah,
made
that
that
was,
up.
that was just, yeah, I'm not faulting anyone. I'm just saying that it's an inaccuracy based on our form of town government.
So either way we go, that needs to come out.
Yeah, so,
Okay. Laura, Laura, leaving it in, I mean, isn't there at some point everything, I mean, for historical accuracy, we need to get this out like pronto. Because if it
No.
stays in and it's not addressed, it just, isn't this a legal malfeasance in some ways that we didn't take action if we knew it wasn't supposed to be in there? I don't know.
Well, I don't think it would be, I don't think there's a legal turn in it, but I think that based upon what we do and that we know that it's not correct, that we have to fix it.
Yeah.
I think by not actioning it leaves us open, right? So I think that we should action it.
And the thing is too, is that, I mean, we don't want to do this in 8 different sections. Like we could theoretically vote tonight for the select board, let's say, to take that wording out, and then we'll address everything later. But I think it was a consensus that we didn't want to do that we wanted to tackle all the necessary changes and then have them vote on changing the charge, the whole document, not just piecemeal.
Okay, I got that in. So can I go back to something? So that being said, and I know I'm in the commission meeting minutes, I don't think I can make changes to it, but I did. Roger, you took note of it, right?
Of what?
The phrase.
What phrase?
I mean, I highlighted it and I got it in my notes, but Daryl, you said something very interesting about what it should be, but I'm not sure.
We're
No,
just
no.
responsible to the select board because
Period.
we are, yeah, period.
Period, right here. So
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
here and take out through the town administrator.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now I understand.
Doesn't mean that we can't work with the town administrator, but it's not through him.
Right.
Okay.
And I think one of the things too is that, for instance, I know Finance Committee, for example, and historically has directly contacted department heads and such in advance of budget season to speak with those department heads and everything. If this were to remain through the town administrator, because the town administrator oversees all the department heads, it would really tie our hands to speak with the various department heads if we had questions. Now, it may be an efficient approach to speak with the town administrator if we have an issue with, or we're looking for clarification on something with a department head, and maybe he may have some insight and he may be able to speak with that person on a day-to-day basis. I think it would still almost preclude us from initiating discussions with department heads because we'd be forced to do it through him. And that can create some inefficiencies in their own right.
And that is how it reads right now.
Right,
Okay.
correct. And so, like the idea of the way it reads right now, I've had a lot of conversations back and forth with Jen Anderson, our recreation director. The way it reads right now is I would basically have to go through Evan to reach Jen unless he gave express authority to do so.
No, that's baloney.
No, it is baloney. I'm saying that it appears that from this read, I'd sort of be bound to that chain of command.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just reads, you have no access to the Board of Selectmen
Right.
except through the town administrator, which is ridiculous.
Daryl, it's the
Right.
select board.
Whatever.
I'm messing with you.
Sorry.
Hey,
So I just want to
someday,
say,
let's all run for the select board at the same time and just take it over.
There you go.
We can just have meetings twice a month instead of once a month.
Yeah,
so
they've been
reading
meeting 3 times. board meetings.
option 1, you guys are, that option is true to the, to how it's written in 48J. That's exactly chapter 48J with the exception of leaving number 6 off.
Let me pull that down.
Yeah, so that chapter 40, section 8J.
Yep, it goes pretty much in order, except for it left number 6 off, which is coordinate activities with other local groups organized for similar purposes. So that would behoove us to reach out to other disability commissions or other, like Sped Pack, or, you know, anybody who's working in along these lines. So that's number 6. And then option 2, starting fresh, is in, and I'm just gonna, you know, I'm just gonna say it, to me, it adds in emotional language almost, that for me is very difficult to define. But I don't know how you got, you know, I know that everything is a work of collaboration. So
It is.
I'm just telling you my view on that. So it's hard for me to define the emotional language and understand then what it would be we would be doing.
And by that, can I just ask, is this an example, Daryl? So say for the 5th bullet,
Mhm.
encourage and value communication with community members. Is that what you mean by
Well, and then
emotional?
I already said the words ensure, like, I don't know what you mean. How do we ensure something? What does that, how, what are we doing to ensure it? So I am a black and white girl who is a behavior analyst who needs my terms to have meaning that that is actionable. So I don't know how to ensure. That gets me all confused.
And
I know
you
what the
know,
word means.
yeah, and without an authority, that's probably the closest word we can get, unless Rob can think of another closer word on the fly here. But that's the closest word we could get to saying that we want to make this happen without saying it has to happen. Laura, do you have a better word?
I'm
How about
thinking
the
about
word
because-
strive?
Yeah.
Strive?
See, it's still not measurable, right? So to
You're right.
Daryl's point, strive and ensure and
I like
that's,
conduct. I like advise.
Yeah.
I like.
yeah, it's so, but advise is more measurable. You can say, well, I met with them they asked me 2 times this year to look at something, anything, you know, X, Y, Z, and you actually can say, okay, I advised. I'm not sure how we would ensure. I know where you're getting at, and I'm trying to think of another word because I like the point that we want to, you know, we want to have all Grafton residents, visitors, and workers of all abilities of equal access.
Yeah.
Ensure, I probably wouldn't use simply, and I like the word, but simply because I don't know what that means. And I'm more like Daryl, but that's just because what I do for a living too, right? It's, if I saw that, I'd immediately strike it. I'd ask the question why.
And Laura, to your point, I think one of the things, and I'll
I'm
go
pulling
back.
up the original doc to
I'll
work
go
on it.
back many meetings ago, in that there was a meeting I recall where I had spoken about, and I had made a comment about that the new library was fully accessible. And I forget, maybe Christy or Daryl, one of you, that we can never assure that something is fully accessible. There's always going to be, when we dig, even if it's so defined, that there's something that isn't absolute, and that the word ensure is sort of a more absolute word that puts us on the hook for ownership of an outcome.
Well, so when you use the word ensure, what are your action steps under that? I guess that is what your job is. So how, if someone tells me, Daryl, you must ensure that this child, you know, gets better. So that's a big, broad term. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to educate, train, advise, like I'm going to take all of these steps that I can understand and that are, they point me in the direction.
Are you saying, so you're saying, Daryl, if I understand you, that it's an unfinished bullet point, that there's a missing follow-up as to how that would be achieved?
I think that maybe the purpose of our thing, of our of our commission is to ensure these things. So I like that, but how are we gonna do that? We're gonna, conduct outreach, we're gonna advise and consult with municipal, we're going to review and make recommendations on policies, provide information and referrals and guidance. Like that is actionable to me to ensure that all Grafton residents, visitors and workers have equal access, because so maybe in my opinion, I don't know, maybe we need to think on it a little more. Maybe I'm just being too black and white. So.
No, that's fine, Daryl, because I think we do have the word. So at the top, the first sentence is to assure. And then later we have ensure, but we don't have strive and we don't have advise. We have foster, consult, voice, encourage, promote inclusion. I mean, we do have a few things. So maybe this is the word right here that needs to be taken out.
Let me ask the rest of the committee members whether or not, and I'm not just trying to buy time or kick the can down the road, but I wanted to see whether, and I think we had this discussion of whether this particular analysis would be best served or better served by having a workshop meeting with this one agenda item.
I think maybe, I mean, if we're gonna do that, we should do that in next couple of weeks, right?
And this way, it would be an easy post. I could, if we did that, I could do a few things in creating the meeting packet, whether it's by separator pages or not, include the charge as it existed in 09, as it currently exists per mid-2019. The chapter 40, section 8J piece, which is how the commissions are, the shall statements and everything. And then these particular 2 pages, options 1 and 2, and perhaps, and being a visual person, I'm not necessarily suggesting that Excel sometimes gets too wide and you can't scrunch it in, but maybe a compare and contrast statement that kind of, as we're looking at it, we know what versions of what exist or existed in the past and what we're headed toward. Right now, I feel like I'm throwing everything on, spreading out my bills on the kitchen table. And I'm finding myself kind of getting lost in the weeds.
I mean, I am a visual girl too, but honestly, option 1 covers exactly what the law says, almost verbatim, and except for leaving out 6. So if that is the charge, and our duties as laid out by the law. So all we really need is, I don't care about the old versions, is option 1 and option 2, and find a way to live with, to meld it to something we're all comfortable with.
All right, and I think the reason I was leaning toward including, well, and we don't have to go back to the 09 version, but except for the fact that it documents that it doesn't include the whole town administrator reference. But even if we agreed to omit any reference or print to the 09 version, that we make sure that that we're right covering what's laid out in the law, but also the shall statements in the general laws don't necessarily preclude us from adding to the charge.
Yeah.
They preclude us from scaling it down.
I gotcha.
So, if let's say we were to agree that option 1 looks good, what parts of option 2 would we want to add to it?
Yeah,
And I'm not even saying everyone agrees that option 1 is the way to go. And then having
well,
option
Op-
2.
you know what bullet I really like in option 2, and I'm sorry to hijack.
No, that's okay.
Go ahead.
But it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth bullet down, which says, as a commission, we will voice our concerns and opinions to promote an inclusive environment. And for me, the only thing I would change is voice to advocate, because that's what we should be advocates. We should be advocates and be
So-
voicing our
Voice,
concerns.
right, so right now that reads voice their concerns and opinions to promote an inclusive community. May I ask what the parentheses are after that?
That corresponds to number 4 on the
The
law.
statement.
Oh, okay, so the shall,
NHA.
okay, gotcha. All right,
And we would have to add that in somewhere, that the parentheses number referred to the law somewhere.
Well, I would just take them all out at the
I
end.
would
That was just
too.
more accounting.
Yep. I wouldn't keep that in there.
Yeah.
okay. And the thing is too, is that the Grafton Disability Commission, we could always put, consistent with and cite the general laws, but then again, sometimes those general laws, the
I think
numbering
that's a
changes.
good- I like that. We used to put that in our school
Okay.
committee policy.
I like that.
I think we should. I think we should always reference where our charge comes from. So
Mhm.
I think we should.
Right,
So this is Mass General Law 40.8 dot,
no, chapter 40, section 8J.
Yeah,
So what happens is when we say it quickly, we say chapter 48J, you think it's 48J when it's not.
I know, that's what I was checking.
It's chapter 40, section, section 8J, capital J.
Oh, you guys, I'm gonna let you look at it and you can come, I know there's a specific, it's almost like doing, references using whichever version you had to do your master's in. So I'm gonna just share this and you can tell me if it's right or not. So is it 40 dot
No,
section?
it's chapter 40,
yep,
section 8J.
yeah.
So, so chapter 40, section 8J, and I don't even know if there's a hyphen. I think it's just 8J.
So a section in
Yeah.
italics?
It's not, it's just,
No.
they listed 8J.
Okay,
Yeah.
and they're next to each other, 8 and
Yep.
J. Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Sometimes you can do it in parens, like the 8 and the J, just they know it's separate, but it means the same thing.
Right.
okay, I'm doing parens because I wanna do what Laura tells me to do. Okay. Okay,
No, I
thanks.
keep trying to put my cell phone up here. No, this is what it looks like.
I know.
Let me ask you this, do screen readers have a difficult time with parentheses?
No.
All right,
Ellipse, they're ellipses, they're not parentheses, they're forward ellipse, backwards ellipse.
okay.
Those aren't a problem. It's emojis.
And I think one of the things too is that if we're going to present to the select board our recommended changes, we would probably want to have some narrative statement as to, how we arrived, how we arrived at this. Sort of an overall statement. We don't need to get into the weeds, but, we met to discuss that which, whether it's number one, being true to the general laws, wiping out things that are, I don't know whether they're ableist language or things that are not necessarily appropriate, in scaling things back, that we have to sell this in a way. Doesn't have to be a hard sell, but
I think we have to sell it.
I mean, I think we have to, I think at whatever meeting there is, one of us,
I don't think they'll care. I think they'll
but
say,
I
Sure.
think one of us should be present to be able to answer for the commission if there are questions.
Yeah,
"Oh,
Rob.
yeah." I think that's a whole, we should all go together. It's a, statement of
They want to see us. They miss
solidarity.
us.
They
you
must
know,
miss us.
They
They
missed
haven't
us.
seen us for a while.
Yeah.
New
Me,
faces.
almost 3 years. I'm going on my 3rd year here. So
Yeah.
same with you, Christy.
Okay, so I put down voice their concerns and opinions to advocate for and promote an inclusive community.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And some of this, you're right. It's not only emotional, it's attitudinal. And that's where I think Rob and I were really trying to say that from our experiences, a lot of disability accessibility barriers are attitudinal. They're not all concrete, physical. It's a lot of assumptions. A lot of people assume because the student has a disability, they're not going to be a great nursing student. And I'm just telling you, even people who I've talked to them for years and years, I still have to coach them on how to not be discriminatory towards someone with a disability coming into their nursing section. So, it's never ending. And that's why I think in some of our language, Rob and I recognize that the job's never done, but we're looking forward to having being proactive towards it, not reactive. Do you want me to pull up anything again? Do you want me to go back to option 1, or what do you guys want to do? I'm not sharing at the moment, but I can go back and make some amendments.
Okay, for me, I'll just say as a general statement, I lean toward option 1 in that the bulk of it is true to the general law. But I think that expanding on some of the items on 2, there were some good statements there that don't necessarily wipe the slate clean with the references that we need to put in. But I like some of these statements on number 2 to be added to revising the current charge versus starting fresh.
And I'm so fresh start. I have to tell you. I just read. I mean, it's not bad, but it is starting to be cringeworthy.
And
That's
what
all.
I like both, and if I was just reading them and not knowing where it came from, I'd say I really like number 2 better because it's more passionate, right? Like it's passionate. It's to me, it seems more empowering, even though we can't really justify how it's going to get done. I just like how it's worded better for me personally. But knowing that we're charged through Mass General laws, you have to, in my opinion, you have to tick and tie it a little bit to what the charge is. That doesn't mean we can't stay true to it, but embellish what we want to add in, or even change some of those statements to maybe word better. Like Christy, what you just said before, a couple of minutes ago, we want to be proactive and not reactive. We want to, promote all of these things. I think absolutely we should be talking about, right? It's the proactive piece, I think, is really hard for us. I think we react a lot because that's how things are brought to us, right? So how can we be proactive? We can be proactive by, going out into the community and doing the community outreach and everything. And that same sentence that was in 2, I think we can add to that, add proactive to it, pull it up to 1. I mean, that's kind of, again, that's just my thought. I think we can do a nice combination of it, but we still, and again, in my opinion, have to stay semi-true to our charge.
Right. And the other thing along those lines, Laura, one of the things that is one of the areas that I think I sometimes struggle with is that on one hand, when we're looking to be proactive, what ends up happening is either of our own accord, one of us would almost have to create a complaint against ourselves, or facilitate that. And that kind of seems kind of, you know, a little underhanded to say, oh, we'll get someone in the community to make it look like they're complaining about something and it's coming from them and not us. But anyway,
Well,
Daryl.
Actually, Laura, you just made me spur on an idea when you said, when you're talking about proactive, I don't even know, this might be a crazy idea for the future. But you know how when they have stuff at the Grafton Common and people all have booths about what they do, or maybe we could do something, a proactive booth where people know, or raise money, or I don't know, do something that advertises what we do to give people information about where they can get, you know, where, you know, you need closed captioning for the town meeting. This is how you do it. You need, you know, blah, blah, blah. This is how you do it. You need, you know, I don't know, maybe we
I think
can
National Night Out,
be a
because of
booth.
COVID. Yeah, I
Yes, National
absolutely,
Night Out.
but that
yes.
has gotten shelved.
That's what I was
since
trying to
COVID.
think, like, what would be appropriate? I'm like,
Yeah.
farmer's market, should we have a booth? I mean, that
Well,
would
I
be
think,
kind of fun.
that,
Good for
well, you're right.
fundraising.
And along those lines, it would be as easy as a lot of times, and especially for the National Night Out, Select Board is present as a quorum. They actually post that they'll be present in a place and time.
Yeah, I mean, we could
And,
do
and
that,
without,
but
and as long as we don't start talking amongst ourselves about other matters and that we're simply there as a quorum to do a specific role, all we need to do is post that, you know, as long as it's in an accessible location.
so
and
anyway, I just need that put in the meeting minutes, so I remember that I had an
I
idea like that.
I think it's a great
It's
idea.
there.
Thanks for
think
your spurring me on proactive, what can we do?
I think it's a great idea that those venues, whether it's the ski swaps or the farmers market or the National Night Out, that I could see absolutely, and I would be willing to find the time to volunteer
Me
to
too.
extend just our regular meetings to those sort of working group activities without taking on a huge bite. It doesn't have to be all of us. It doesn't take but a couple people to staff a table.
Right.
So, and the other thing too is that along those lines, you're right, and maybe I'm straying from the agenda, but that $700 account certainly could be used for printing purposes, and including Braille and large print and bound materials. That it's for general consumption, and so we could possibly tackle that in 22 and have money to play with to achieve that end. So anyway, back to the charge. So how do we address the next steps? Do we have a workshop meeting to sort of tie this all together?
When you say workshop, if we had a time limit on it, I'd do a workshop, but I think of those workshops from school committee days, and Daryl, you were like gone the whole day. I mean, you were sitting there and you brought lunch and it was just.
No, it's
like,
just a workshop. No, it's just an extra, call it an extra meeting with one agenda item.
Yeah, but let's have like a time limit. So like it's like an hour and we're focused, we're
Okay.
laser sharp, we're prepared, and we just knock it out.
All right. Do you want to compromise to 90 minutes?
No.
Long. That
Do we
seems
want
really
to
long.
do we want to outvote her? No, I'm only kidding.
No,
Um,
but you know, if we
I'm
did an
flexible.
hour 15, I'll compromise there, an hour 15.
Okay.
And I promise I'll be focused. But yeah, a workshop would make sense, and it would be great to have, if I can make up like 3 columns and how these, you know, have that ready to go so that we're ready
Right.
to work on it and show the number 1, number 2.
Right. And I think for me, I would maybe arrive at more succinct comments and decisions when seeing that in such a format. I find it more difficult personally to flip back and forth between these pages and
Yeah.
try to track this, so
Would it be a Zoom workshop or in person?
I think it would be Zoom, and then we share the screens. I don't see where, with the municipal building closed and the unpredictability of when things will open, we can absolutely assure a Zoom time. But if we were to do something in person, that could get canceled based on the COVID situation or anyone's status.
Yeah,
And then
school
we-
never gets canceled.
Let's go.
I'm with 6,000 students every day, people. Hello, 9 buildings. We don't catch it there.
So is everyone on board that it would be Zoom? I think it may be impractical to try to predict an in-person meeting with the current state of affairs with COVID.
Mhm.
I
That
agree.
makes me so sad. We
I know.
need normal.
I know. I mean, I wish we could. I think we could get more done doing this sort of small, hour session in person, but I think, Roger, you're at it. We don't know if it'll get canceled or whatnot.
Yeah.
Well,
And I'm
what if
typically on
we,
symptom watch for the next 10 days because I got an possible exposure on Sunday. So
Oh,
okay, but if we
Ugh.
waited till February and we could meet in the library's new space where we really were spaced, and not all around a table, but that it's a huge space. If we were all around the perimeter,
but we would
That-
have
that
to,
is an option.
theoretically create enough space and social distance space for anyone else because it is a public meeting. So we can't assume that we will be the only ones in that space, and we would have to make room for any number of people that would want to join in. Realistically, do any of these meetings have any attendance more than one person? Likely not, but we can't assume that.
well, just an idea that at some point we do have
I
the
think that's a-
goal of meeting in person someday.
I know, and I love that space. That library space is an awesome space. So, and I think it's going to be equipped, if not already, for a live TV feed to the GCTV.
Really?
I think that was the goal. If not currently, I think that was the goal, that was going to be a more functional space for live broadcast.
Yeah.
I realize I don't even know what other people are doing because I've had to work back in the public since last year. So is everyone still working from home? And
I am.
yes,
Yes.
no,
I've
I'm
been
in
working,
person.
yeah,
that
I'm
would
in
imply
person 2
work.
days a week.
So
I'm in person a couple days, actually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we have to mask in common areas, except the offices and cubes. So I have my KN95 and
we don't even contact trace anymore.
We don't either. And once you're done with 10 days, you just come back. You don't have to prove that you've had a negative test.
We don't even have 10 days in anymore. It's 5.
Yeah. We're 10 at QCC. That's why I'm not going back
Everyone
till
has different-
Wednesday.
Everyone has different rules. It's so confusing.
I know.
so
It's
let me
interesting.
ask you then, so all right, so the February 17th meeting, that would bring us to February 3rd.
So for February 17th, I'm going to be Zooming in by phone as I'm traveling to Florida by car. My husband's insisting we drive.
Oh,
So.
my God.
He's
You wanna
insisting,
fly?
he drives, or that he's.
Oh, he's driving. I'm not driving.
Oh, good,
but-
all right.
But
So-
yes, I'm leaving on the 17th. So I'll be somewhere in the United States zooming in. What a
So,
long, boring drive.
so do you want to halt the discussion for now, that Christie, you'll put together
Yeah.
these points into a sort of a graph or whatever?
3-column
3-column, okay,
landscape.
okay. All right. So as long as it's able to fit portrait so that it's big enough that it's readable for the,
Let her do it.
Landscape.
so if it's landscape, then I just scan it in and then you just have to change the view. In other words, for the meeting packet.
Landscape. Who cares?
No, what I'm saying is when someone clicks
Yeah.
on a PDF, they would
But-
simply have to change the view.
Yeah, and you know what I would do, Roger? I would actually add it as a separate attachment so that we can work on it. So
Okay,
it's not the PDF, but we have it, all of us, so we can all flip it around and play with it before the
Okay.
meeting.
So what
Okay.
are the three gonna be? The old charge?
Yep, the oldie, but no longer goodie. The revision
Yeah,
and fresh start.
okay, and then so the other thing, the only other thing we might want a copy of, and if you would like, I can print this out, is chapter 48J.
It was in a previous packet, Daryl.
It was
Roger
in
had
the
included it in a packet 2 or 3 months ago.
That doesn't mean I can find that. So- No, I can find it.
yeah, the meeting packets are all listed on our website. So when you say old charge, you mean current charge,
Yeah,
the future old charge, but okay. So are we saying that we would do, is Thursday the 3rd? Thursday seems to be, I mean,
So I'm going to be in Charleston on the 3rd.
oh, all right.
Um,
and
I could do
Yeah.
this now.
Okay. At 6:30 to 7:45?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll secure an account. If it's not the select board, it may likely be the select board, but it will not repeat the same meeting ID and password. It'll be something completely different
Okay.
aside from the string that we're currently on. All right. Thank you so much, Christy and Rob. This is
Yeah.
not easy. I guess it's easy for me to sit back and go, oh, this sounds good, that sounds good. And we're just hacking apart all your hard work.
no, we're not hacking it apart. We're discussing.
I know.
Oh, this isn't bad hacking.
I say that tongue in cheek. I say that. tongue in
This was,
cheek.
yeah, this was the plan all along, right? We would draft it up and then talk about it and
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so, and I think it's a good exercise. I think a lot of committees probably would do themselves well by revisiting their charges. Okay. Agenda item number 6, project updates. I put Grafton Library. We had mentioned this in our last meeting that 12/17 was upcoming, and I did attend the Friday, December 17th, 21 ribbon cutting, which was amazing, and it was outdoors. It got a little breezy, but what was neat regarding inclusion is that it was by consensus that we kept on staying outdoors. I think it may have started to get too cold for some, but then it's like, is everyone okay? And everyone said, no, we're okay. Let's keep this outdoors. And it proceeded, and all the dignitaries were there, and including Congressman McGovern. And it was just a great community event. I'm glad that I took some time out of my day to attend it. You could not have gotten the flavor of it by the article that was written, okay, about this particular opening. And so anytime we can really celebrate these successes and attend them in person is awesome. And so there were a number of speeches. There was a walkthrough after that. And there looked to be about maybe, I don't know, 60 or 70 people in attendance.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a decent crowd. And then people kind of flowed in and did the walkthrough. And then what was neat is I talked to people out there, masked, of course, was that some people had not yet been into the building. So after all the festivities, this was their first walkthrough, and people were like, wow, this is an amazing space, especially in contrast to the much smaller and inaccessible footprint that existed before. So yeah, so it was a great event. Yeah. So and then project of any updates on the library, Christie, at all? Yeah.
They're just short-staffed.
Yeah. So, and I'm wondering at some point, the library planning and building committee their charge will be over. And so your liaison role will also then subsequently go away. And we can decide whether that happens before their charge is up or not. I'm not sure what is left to be done as far as your regular contact with them, or is that kind of fizzled out, that basically they've done their job, they've done their work, and now it's any extras are between Beth and the TA?
Well, we're waiting. Daryl and I are waiting because we heard Evan Broussard say that he's going to follow up with us after the library opens and we're going to have a meeting. So we'll wait for that.
Okay.
And it was to follow up on the concerns for how accessible the flooring was in both
Okay.
the children's area and the young adult, or excuse me, the teen room.
Sure.
And even if it's just a quick meeting, it needs to be
Right.
done.
Right. Yeah. And I think we had all, yeah, what had happened is I remember him saying, let's take a wait and see. And I don't necessarily think a wait and see is waiting for the first formal complaint. I think that we had agreed that we would see what it looked like fully furnished.
Yeah,
It's
and
full-
that's
it's-
what he said.
Yeah.
Let's wait and see. When
It's fully furnished. So I know some family members that went in and yeah, it was an unpleasant experience for them. So
and
I think
fainted.
that, what was that?
And they fainted because they had
No,
dizzy
no.
because the rugs were so busy.
It was
I-
psychic.
I was in last week. It wasn't an issue for me, but I can't speak to everybody.
Right.
Also the lights weren't all the way on. I was in the teen room particularly because I was looking for a specific book.
Sure.
The lights weren't all the way on, so maybe when the lights are all the way on, it could be very busy.
Sure.
But I mean, I'm bright colors and stuff don't bother me, so I can see how
Right.
it could bother someone who does have that issue
Right.
though.
Yeah. And the thing is too, is that we had all agreed that we found it very difficult to land on or find any design standards. There seemed to be none. And I think even if there were some, they would be very objective because you're talking about patterns, shapes, and colors. I know, Daryl, that you had talked about certain reds and yellows and certain colors or blocks of colors we stray away from. But then when you're getting into the more nuanced area of patterns and shapes and things like that, it gets a little bit more fuzzy. So
Definitely not a lot of research on that when I
No.
searched.
no. And you know what's interesting? When I did a lot of Googling, a lot of the university libraries that raved about their accessibility, the pictures of their facilities, in many of them included equally busy floor patterns or rugging. So it was interesting that these discussions are really not happening.
Well, neither was the discussion about the entrance from the common, because that was done without Beth's input. And when you look at that walkway, it's not wide enough for two
Okay.
people to walk together up to the old front entrance, which is
Okay.
still an entrance. So two
Right.
people who are signing together, you can't, it's not good deaf space.
I
So
thought I thought that it was wide enough. How wide does it need to be?
For two people to comfortably walk forward. It's only, they did the minimum instead of making exception for our deaf community here. It wasn't done with any input from anyone from the community.
And I know the walkway from the roadside, it seemed a lot narrower than it was. But what happens is you walk and then you reach brick. You reach this bricking that really can't be modified. You know, you could certainly extend the width of the walkway up to that point, but once you then reach that bricking, it's a defined limitation. And so I was, yeah, it was, and then the other thing too is that the terraced, what do you call those? The garden boxes? What's the term for them? The raised beds. The raised beds are terraced, so that the only accessible raised beds are the ones on the bottom tier. And there's about 4 of them. And so, yeah, so there's still some work to be done. So, and then the other thing is, since we're talking about the library and blending into the Eagle Trail, I may as well ask you, after the fact, now that the state has funded this project, the idea of anyone else using it for parking, either incidentally or advertised, you know, people all the time, when the Grafton Inn got packed, everyone parked in the library because it was after hours. So how would that jeopardize something after the fact? Christy, you had mentioned about the parking is only
They still are giving them money for it. The money does not come all at once. It comes incrementally as they continue to show that the library is staying open the hours they said they would, and that they're complying with the other stipulations. There's a list of them. So
how much is left to be reimbursed?
I don't know, but there's quite a bit of it. And the other concern is because they're understaffed, they're not going to be open the hours they agreed to in order to maintain the grant.
Right.
So we could be closed because we don't have enough staff, and our hours aren't the hours we agreed to when we signed off on that account. I mean, there's so many things that are in play here.
Yeah. And I'm not terribly
I don't know how
concerned.
busy they're policing us,
Right.
but
I can't imagine that the state would come down on a facility.
oh
if
really?
it's due to COVID.
Oh, you think the state wouldn't love to have some money back? I mean, we could be made an example of.
I hope not.
Oh, I know, but we will hopefully get a warning first, but we've already closed the library. You'll go by at night, you'll see it's closed.
Okay.
And that's a no-no. And I don't know if anybody's counting, but they're closed sometimes at night because you can't run the library with only 2 people in it. And people have called out, they don't have staffing, this person's sick. They don't have the staff. So if they do that on a regular basis, it will come to the attention.
All right. So as the liaison, would you be able to speak with Beth to see if, I mean, is it, do we do more harm than good calling attention to this, or just remaining silent?
Well, Beth has let Evan know. Evan knows all these issues. He knows all of them. So we're not saying anything new. Bob Berger knows all these issues. They all do. No one wants to deal with it. They've got other fish to fry. But this is a big issue if our funding gets pulled.
Right. But the other piece that, the other piece that is that we talked about too, is that the sign in the upstairs room that says, we acknowledge that there's an ADA issue, but we're addressing it. And there was supply chain issues, I think, or labor, or something about the counter heights.
Right.
So, all right. So then we'll, so this ribbon cutting discussion kind of morphed into a few more things. Is everyone okay with moving on to the Eagle Trail behind the center library, which I think I had only put as a placeholder because it was my understanding either at last meeting or the one before that Bob Berger was going to speak with Evan. I think, I could be mistaken, and that,
No, that's
that-
right.
does that ring a bell with anyone? Do you want to defer it to our next regular meeting? I'll double back with Bob
Mhm.
and ask him about that. I know that Evan it took a unique approach, and that in my opinion, it's prematurely advertised as open. And so, including the signage, which blended, Christie, into your issue that you can't advertise, it's not a library use. And so, and he had acknowledged there's still some wetlands issues, so there's other issues going on. So I'll speak with Mr. Berger. For the purpose of seeing whether he spoke with Evan. So the next item on the agenda, just on the project updates, general updates, school district ADA self-eval and transition plan. I had emailed Jay Cummings, and he had replied that they expect the document to be in hand late January or sometime into February. So, and that once he received it, he'd forward it to me. So I'll let you know. So does anyone have any other updates about anything going on? All right. All right, old business. It's really not a discussion point, but more to memorialize the library grant award documents received from the Mass Office on Disability that I had mentioned in our last meeting, that a portion, the non-software portion of the request, namely that 23,000 was awarded. And those documents in the meeting packet are, I included the email that I sent to the rest of the commission with the documents that Mass Office on Disability sent. In addition to a copy, I added a copy of the grant app itself in our endorsement letter. So that was just basically to memorialize the process, that if we needed to look back, that it was all in one place. All the documents were in one place, and that it's my understanding that Evan, as town administrator, has the authority to sign off on these various documents. I guess if there's any question, and the select board needs to be involved in any way, they'll communicate with each other. And then Beth had mentioned that between either existing funds or the upcoming budget cycle, that she should have secured the remaining 30 some odd thousand that wasn't approved, that was namely the software. I'm kind of perplexed that the software, which is necessary to work the hardware, would not be part of the award. But it's certainly consistent with what is seemingly the sort of split responsibility that the Mass Office on Disability often takes, and other grant various entities that award grants take a split responsibility approach, and it can be 50-50. And as we often see, and that's sort of consistent with the very grant that funded the library itself. So it's on Beth's radar that this is an action item that needs to complete the full funding of the products and software. So so we'll see how that flushes out as far as what can be squeezed out of any excess funds this year versus next year's budget, or maybe even a capital request. So any questions on library grant award or anything like that? Okay. Next item on the roll business, Mass Office on Disability and Office of the Attorney General. I had agreed that I would be in touch with Ann Lynch, who's the Assistant Attorney General of the Mass Civil Rights Division. I spoke with her on December 23rd. It was a really good conversation, and I had asked her for the purposes of replaying the webinar or one of the versions of the webinar on Grafton Cable. She said that they had solicited requests for accommodations and that they did not receive any for either ASL or CART services. And so it didn't get recorded. And so, and I had politely pointed out that, well, to make this a more useful document for public consumption, would have been nice that even absent any requests for accommodations, recording it would then, you'd be able to then replay it in various places instead of circulating it as a PowerPoint and sort of just reading it. I think having it as a recorded webinar brings it more to life and puts a lot of the items into context. So what she did also say is that that they're trying to recreate a disability rights division within the AG's office that's been defunct for about a decade. I was surprised to hear that. I didn't realize that there was once a disability rights division that now no longer exists, and that it'll be interesting to see how this flushes out. And I'm not sure what was behind this being removed, but they're trying to get it back. I'm not sure if no one's performing that function or whether it's been sort of spread out over the state. But you know, so I think moving forward, I had, you know, put the bug in her ear that, you know, anytime there's a webinar, it would be nice to at least record one of those presentations. So so that's that update. New business. I think in Daryl's comments regarding us being proactive could perhaps be considered a new business item, unless, Christy, you've captured it in the prior
No, I
discussion
got it.
points.
No, I
Okay,
got
good.
it.
All right, awesome. So, I mean, I don't have any new business items. It's just a placeholder. So does anyone else have any new business items? Okay. Great. All right, then our next meeting I put on the agenda was Thursday, February 17th, but our next meeting, and I'll secure a Zoom meeting booking, is for Thursday, February 10th at 6:30 p.m. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Sure.
No, I think it should go
No,
another
we should
hour.
just sit here and stare at each other forever, right? I move to
Writing your
adjourn.
name right now, Catherine. You can't get out of it.
All right. Do I have a second?
I second.
All right. Motion made by Catherine to adjourn, seconded by Daryl.
Oh, I have
by-
Laura. I have
It's a-
Laura Janine.
We both
It
said it
was
at the same
Laura.
time. We
Well,
said
it's Laura's turn. It's Laura's
Okay.
turn.
it's my
All
turn.
right, all right. Motion made by Catherine. All right, sorry, Daryl. Seconded by
I just
Laura to
scored
adjourn.
points with Laura.
All right, motion made and seconded by roll call. All those in favor, Daryl,
No.
I have to go back and change your answer. I pre-populated it, Daryl. We're being silly. Go ahead,
Okay.
Roger.
You
All right,
guys are gonna overrule me, so keep going.
okay, Christy,
Yes.
Catherine,
Aye.
Laura,
Laura, I.
Rob,
No one's gonna stick with me.
Rob,
Rob, I.
all right, Roger, I declare the motion carried 5-1. This meeting is adjourned at 8:37 PM.